Hey everybody, welcome. If you are joining from Houston, I know you're having a great day because the weather is fantastic. If you're joining us from outside of the state or another metro, we are getting a break from the heat. It is 72 degrees and sunny, and we are living for it. So we are so glad that you're here wherever you're joining us from. With only 2 months left in this historic record-breaking year, it's never been more important to keep an eye on the market. So pat yourselves on the back for staying informed and joining us today. Before we dive in, I just want to remind you that this webinar is being recorded and you will get a copy of the recording emailed to you tomorrow. We'll also be answering any questions that you have, so make sure you write them in the question box and we'll answer those at the end. If you have any deal specific questions, like if you're actively working on a deal, we won't answer those live, but we're happy to connect you with a fully licensed loan officer. So write them in and we'll connect you with somebody, they'll call you after. All right, before we get started, we are gonna go over our disclaimer. This webinar is intended to help you. We love putting this information together, sharing it with you, and helping investors keep an eye on the ever-changing market. However, Catalyst, our associates, our guest speakers, we're not liable for any decisions you make hereafter. So please always conduct your own due diligence before going into a deal. All right, without further ado, let's get started. I'm so excited to introduce you to one of my favorite speakers in Houston. A.G. Gupt is the CEO of Real Acquisitions and a managing partner for Alexander Green Developers. Welcome, A.G. We're so excited to hear your feedback on what's going on in the market.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Destiny, David, Jeff, man. We love you guys. We've been friends for so many years, and we always appreciate the opportunity in coming and speaking on your panel. You guys are a class act, and thank you for setting the bar so high for all of us in Houston. Again, my name is AG. Thanks again for Destiny for the introduction. I've been in the real estate space since 2009. I got started in the data business. No cliches there, but Indians and 911s and 7-Elevens, not 911s, 7-Elevens, Indians and IT don't go too far from each other. So I got started in the data side of things in 2009 with the company that you're looking at right now, which is Real Acquisitions. So briefly about Real Acquisitions before I tell you more about my background. I started Real Acquisitions with 2 other friends because we were sick and tired of receiving stale and useless data from many other data providers at that time. So we wanted to provide investors, agents, brokers, banks, insurance companies, lenders like Catalyst, some of the best data available on single family off-market properties. Essentially, how do you find great deals if you are an investor or any other real estate professional? And by God's grace, we've been doing that successfully since 2009. This is our 12th year in business, so we're very excited about that. 2013, I and my wife took a small detour from Real Acquisitions because we were sick and tired of watching all you guys, investors, making gobs and gobs of money in real estate. In 2013, we went in the single family buy and hold space. So over a course of about 2.5 years, about 3 years actually, we bought 92 homes right here in Houston, Texas, all inside the Beltway. Actually, there's nothing in the boonies, and we'll get into some numbers today, time permitting. So that was a change in my trajectory as a real estate professional, and really understanding what happens behind the scenes on the transactioneering side. Companies like Catalyst were an absolute key factor in helping us scale fast. I'm sure Jeff will jump into that, of the importance of having the right lending partner in your mix. So that was absolutely, our lending partners were absolutely key in helping us expand. Fast forward to 2016, I had the opportunity of buying my other 2 partners out from Real Acquisitions, and we started doing that. And we also started getting in the construction space. So since 2016, we've been in the single family luxury construction space under a brand called Alexander Green. So far, we've built about 28 homes in markets like Bel Air, West University, Rice, River Oaks.
I can testify to the luxury part. AG does a great job. Some of the homes that I've seen his team build are very nice, very top notch. Well, class organization for sure.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Can't wait to build your and Wade's house, man. And then 2019, given the market trends, some of which we will talk about today, we went in the commercial construction space. Specifically, we are doing the small apartment complexes, 50 units and below. Right now, we've built 5 in Houston already, in the Houston market already, and we're currently building 2 more. So we'll talk more about that as the things progress. But one of the themes that I'd like to hit on today's conversation is dynasties, especially financial dynasties, are not built with a 5-year plan. They're built with a 200-year plan. A very wise man once told me years and years ago. It was actually my financial planner. So our ability to look at information, just like Destiny very correctly said, pat on the back for all of you guys joining this live or watching this later on. It is key factors, data factors like these that will help you make these long-term decisions, because some of these things are so instrumental in setting up your dynasties, your generations to come for financial future and financial betterment. And I'm so excited to jump into some of those concepts in the next few minutes with you guys. So back to Jeff, you and your team.
I can testify to that. I have seen young Gupt.
It's a good time to be in the luxury market.
What's that?
Oh, I said it's a good time to be in the luxury market.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, yeah, no, I was saying.
Yeah, it broke up a little bit on my end, but I think it's my Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay. So I can testify to AG's commitment to the cause of the legacy dynasty, because I've seen young Gupt, I can't remember his first name, but young little Gupt running around at these events, taking it all in. It's great. It's definitely a family affair for AG. He practices what he preaches, for sure.
Thank you.
Just to speak briefly on AG and our experience with him, we've known AG since we've really been in business. We started lending in 2014. I think we probably met AG and his group shortly thereafter. Became a sponsor of Real Acquisitions and have been a huge fan ever since. This business unfortunately has some folks that are maybe not the most forthcoming or ethical, and that cannot be further from the truth with AG. AG has always been top of the line, above board, a very good guy to deal with. Great host at his events as well, and his data is top notch as well. So I cannot say enough good things about AG and his team.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah. So this is, I don't know, Destiny, if you wanted to cover this or not, but
yeah, I will jump in. Beth and I are actually in the same office today, and I can kind of hear myself on a delay, so my Wi-Fi connection might not be so good. But if you are joining us for the first time and you aren't from Boston, oh, can't hear me?
We can hear you.
Jeff?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, great. Well, let me keep going. So let me introduce you to our other 2 speakers today. We have our Director of Lending, Jeff Johnson. Oh, I think my Wi-Fi is bad. I'm going to have to let you guys introduce yourself.
All right. Sounds good. So my name is Jeff Johnson. I'm the Director of Lending at Catalyst Funding. Catalyst, we have been open since 2014. We primarily focus on hard money for real estate investors. And a few years ago, we started doing our own long-term conventional loans. Previously, we had partners that do that, but myself and Wade, who's the owner, our background is in conventional long-term lending as well. So we decided to take on that piece, and I think it was the right move. So we can now control the entire lending process from start to finish. All of our loan officers are licensed, and Austin's going to get into that a little bit, but all of our loan officers are licensed to handle everything. So they can do the hard money loans, same person that's going to, so especially for buy and hold folks. So same loan officer is going to carry you all the way through the process. We'll be there for hard money. We'll be there for your refinance. Eventually, if you become a little mini empire of real estate, you will have many properties, and we do blanket loans. Right now, I don't know AG if you still have those 90 single families or not, but we've had a lot of
48 now, down to 48.
48. Okay. Well, I think we recently did a 60 house package, and we have another maybe 30 house package teed up to go this month. So we're doing a lot of blanket loans for investors that have built up a nice portfolio. As you're going to see, values are at an all-time high. So there's a lot of equity. Rates are really low. So it's a great time to cash out some of your rental properties and use that cash to buy some more. But that's enough about me. Like I said, been with the company since 2014. And Austin Poole is our sales team manager. He is joining us today as well. He has been with the company since 2017. Austin, won't you tell the folks a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So I started with Catalyst, like Jeff said, back in 2017. Started just as a processor, worked my way up, became a loan officer, and now I am the sales team manager. So my primary job is just focused on recruiting, hiring, training our current loan officers. And I also am focused on building my own rental portfolio. So all of you who are investing, I have gone through quite a few deals myself, and I'm looking to continually grow. So I am definitely there for each of you personally that's looking to build your own portfolio.
Yeah, Austin's been a great addition to the team. If you're working with a loan officer, he's right there behind them every step of the way to help out. So if you ever need a second hand, Austin's more than capable. And Austin, why don't you take it away, sir?
Definitely. So here at Catalyst, we are a lending company built by investors for investors. We've been involved in thousands of transactions. Like Jeff said, we started our lending company back in 2014. Before that, we were actually just investing in real estate ourselves, which that started back in 2012. Now, we have the experience and expertise to help you throughout your investing career. We are a one-stop shop for short-term and long-term financing. So we offer a single point of contact model for all of your loans. So whether you're having to deal with, so that way you don't have to deal with multiple loan officers. Traditionally, if you were looking for hard money, you would have to go somewhere for hard money and then go somewhere else for the refinance. You're dealing with the exact same person throughout the entire process. We do have 5-star reviews across all social media platforms. Now, the rest of these bullet points detail the loan products that we have to offer. So I'm going to give you a highlight of each of them. The very first loan product that we have is hard money, which that's one of the ones that we specialize in. And hard money is money to purchase and fix up distressed real estate. Now, the next loan product that we have are conventional loans. So we are a Fannie Freddie direct lender on the conventional side. So whether you're looking to purchase or refinance investment properties, or if you have a primary home that you're looking to purchase, maybe you have equity in your house that you're looking to pull cash out to fuel your investment career, we can help you with that as well. The next product that we have to offer for those of you who don't qualify for conventional financing, but are still looking for that long-term loan, we have a no income doc program, which is a 30-year fixed non-conventional loan. So this is going to be your debt service coverage ratio program. Now, the newest addition to our product line that we have to offer, which is really exciting, is our 30-year fixed Airbnb loan. So these are for those of you who need a long-term loan, but don't have a long-term tenant in place. So there's no DSCR ratio involved in this. Many times this is good for bigger properties that you're putting on VRBO, Airbnb, where you don't have that long-term renter. Our most popular product right now at the moment, however, is our blanket loan, which Jeff touched on a little bit earlier. And it is a true 30-year fixed loan. Now, you have to have a minimum of 5 properties in order to be eligible for this product. Now, the interest rates are right where conventional interest rates are, which is exciting. And the kicker is that this will allow you to maximize your conventional loans. So for those of you who already maxed out your 10 conventional properties, this product will allow you to take those 10 conventional loans, move them over to this blanket product that we're talking about, and allow you to go out and get 10 more conventional loans to be able to maximize that. And you just repeat that process over and over, so that way you're continually getting the best interest rates.
Yeah. So a couple things on that, on the refinance to clearing space. Make sure you need to go through us, because that is a lender specific thing. That is not necessarily a Fannie Freddie rule. It's an interpretation of the guidelines. And luckily for us, we've got some great underwriters that aggressively interpret that guideline to mean that they can refinance those loans into the blanket and then clear up some space. The other thing I was going to ask AG, I don't know how much exposure or how much you see on the Airbnb stuff these days, because we try and stay ahead of the game and kind of be forward looking, and what are the next products that people are going to need. And some of the anecdotal evidence we talk to people about all these Airbnb deals, the amount of money or cash flow they can make, it's just outrageous. On some of these properties, we're talking thousands of dollars of cash flow each month, and really no end in sight either. Now, obviously, some properties are going to be better than others, but you buy a single family, you rent it out, you reasonably predict your cash flow a couple hundred to maybe 500 if you have a really great single family. On some of these Airbnbs, I mean, we're talking 5,000s cash flow on some of these properties. So, I don't know if you personally AG, or if you just know of many of your clients or friends that have these Airbnb products.
Yeah, I've quite a few real acquisitions clients on our data company, but on the real estate side, not much. But yeah, you're right. But I will tell you this: what I have seen with the STR is what they call this whole space, the short-term rental space, is that more and more people are now figuring out the right kind of inventory to hold. I think it's becoming very apparent that people who've done very well with the kind of numbers that you were talking about, Jeff, have shifted away from that model that used to be for many, many years with the Airbnb space, which is, hey, let's get a condo close to downtown. Let's get a condo next to some, medical center, and we can Airbnb that out. Those numbers are still good, but they're nothing compared to what people are doing by renting these suburban homes or homes away from the city, 20, 30, 40, 50 miles away from the city, and then creating experiences in those homes, building these pool houses, having a masseuse go out there as a part of the Airbnb package, renting the whole space with these excursions built into your Airbnb nightly rate. So that's what's people really raking it in, are guys who have broken the code on that experiential short-term rentals, not just, I'm leasing a space in downtown because I want to be close to medical center.
That's great. I had no idea. That's some good insight. Okay, so let's hop into this first chart. This is a chart that we show just about every week, and I show it. I think it's important because it explains a lot of what's going on in the real estate market. As we get to the numbers, you're going to see that prices are accelerating rapidly across the country. And a lot of it has to do with this chart right here. And what this shows is the number of homes built, right? It's a very simple chart throughout the years, going back to the 1960s. And if you'll notice, between 2010 and now, that is the lowest decade we've had since the 1950s. So and if you look at it, it looks like, okay, everything's going great. And then 2006 or 7, the financial meltdown happens, and then basically production of new units stops. Like nobody's building houses, and it kind of slowly starts trickling back up. There's that big dip right around coronavirus time, and then we're right back up. So what that means is that there's just not a lot of inventory. So A, population has been booming. B, we haven't been building enough homes. C, interest rates are ridiculously low. And D, I don't know what the group is, millennials, whatever the age group that I'm not in, whatever that age group is the largest age group we've ever had, and they are in the prime home buying age. So you have folks that, and credit scores are at a record high. So if you look at all those factors, you'll see a massive demand for real estate, but nobody has been building homes the past 10 years. So that is, in my opinion, the biggest driver as to why we are in the situation we're in with prices going through the roofs. Is this just all those factors conflate to the fact that we have not enough supply and too much demand. Next slide.
So this next slide is talking about the home buyer bidding war and how the rate drops to a low in September. So 59% of home offers faced competition in September, which is the lowest level in 9 months. Now, this is expected with seasonal housing market slowdown, with families going back to school, and also an uptick in mortgage rates. Now, new listings fell 9% year over year in September, and the typical home that sold went under contract in 18 days, which is more than a week faster than the year earlier. Now, in this same article, in reference to the bidding war, I thought it was interesting that in September, 48% of homes sold above list price, which is a lot. However, it's actually down 8 percentage points from a record high in June, but it's still up 14 percentage points from a year earlier. So this is where I personally see the recency bias come to light with dealing with a lot of borrowers. People say that the market is slowing down, but when we look at the bigger picture year over year, rather than month over month, we're still in an uptrend. So this is why I personally am still in the market looking to buy houses and buy real estate, because it seems expensive now until you look back a year from now and realize that it wasn't.
Can I add something here, buddy?
Yeah, definitely.
Remember that almost 65% of Redfin listings are on the West Coast. So a lot of the Redfin national numbers are extremely skewed. So when I look at Redfin numbers, I always see it with a grain of salt.
Definitely. No.
Yeah. To that point, if you want to get the next slide, it's kind of broken down by market, right? A lot of these markets. So I thought it was pretty interesting. You look at the certain states, and I'm going to focus on Texas because most of our people here are in Texas. But as you can see, this is basically a chart of showing the percentage of offers that faced a bidding war. So it's broken down by market. So if you look at the very top.
Only by Redfin, though. That's what I'm
What's
trying
that?
to tell you. Only by Redfin, though. These are just Redfin numbers. These are only offers and listings that they deal with.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I'd have to go back and look at the article to make sure that that's the case. So if you look in the upper left-hand corner, that's going to be the highest rate of competitive offers, right? So Raleigh, North Carolina, 74% all the way down, Boston, Indianapolis. So you look down at Dallas, for example, 63% of them in September were under a competitive situation. August, 65% it dipped down. But to Austin's point, look at September of 2020. So in September of 2020, my screen just froze up on me here. It's at 50%. So it is a lot more competitive now than it was a year ago in that market. And each market's, what's that?
No doubt about that.
Yeah. And each market's a little different. So, if you look at the right-hand side, excuse me, in Austin, it's 53%. So, Austin is always the hottest market in Texas. It's the highest. It seems to be the one everyone talks about. But they're actually down. They're lower than Dallas as far as bidding wars. And if you look at it where it was a year ago, it was 58%. So Austin is actually seeing a little bit of a slowdown in the competition. It's still a ridiculously hot market, don't get me wrong, but it sounds like it's starting to slow down a little bit. Houston, we're pretty consistent across the board. 52% last month, 51% this year, 52% last year. Houston's more of the steady eddy of the markets, in my opinion. But you're right, though, AG, a lot of the markets, especially in California, are just hyper competitive. Despite the mass exodus you hear about in the news that is really happening, it is still ridiculously competitive to get real estate out there.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I personally think that a big part of that is just due to low inventory over in Austin as well.
Yeah.
Now, this slide is the rental market tracker. So this is looking at a national level. And again, to AG's point, this is data from Redfin only. So you want to take that as you will. But the average national rent is $1,839, and the median monthly mortgage for home buyers, putting 5% down, so this is like a conventional loan, 5% down for your primary residence, is $1,498. Now, the average monthly rents are up 11%, which is the fastest they've gone up in 2 years, according to this article. and mortgage payments for new home buyers are up 15%. And a big reason for this is just, nationally, the prices for homes have went up. So inherently the monthly payments are also going up. Now, the biggest rises, according to the article, are over on the East Coast, as far as rents go, Florida in particular.
Yeah, there was I thought it was pretty interesting. They listed out the metro areas, and the metros with the fastest rising rent, right, where people are moving to. Of the top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them were in Florida, and the other 5 were all New Jersey, New York. So people are flocking to the East Coast, particularly Florida. Rents were up, I think, as high as 35% in some of the markets. There was only one market that was a decline, Pittsburgh. So, as a landlord, that's encouraging. The rents are rising at a pretty high clip, no matter where you go, but especially if you own some rental property down in Florida. Next. So these are the Texas numbers, right? And show if you look at their average rent. Now this is just rents. It doesn't break down single family. I think when on our slides, we have single family rents by market, and this is more of like a generic rent number that includes, I think it includes apartments, condos, townhomes, stuff like that. So it's a little more generic number. So they may not match with what our single family numbers look like, but you can see rents. It was interesting to see Dallas and Fort Worth are both above the national average. Houston was a little bit below. San Antonio was a lot lower, which I thought was interesting. But as you can see, the increase in the mortgage payment. So the rents have gone up 16% across the board in Dallas, Fort Worth. Houston's 11%, National's 11%, San Antonio's like 2%. So the rents have gone up. That's a big number, 16% year over year. And Dallas Fort Worth 11% nationally. That's a big number. Obviously,
so this is the first time in the Houston market ever where the average rent actually crossed $2,000. The average rent in Houston now, I believe, is right over $2,100 for the very first time.
Yeah, we have on our Houston slide. We charge single family rents. We'll get into that. But yeah,
very exciting.
Yeah, it's great. And so if you look at the mortgage payment increases, obviously with values getting higher, mortgages are going to go higher, taxes are going to go higher as well. So those mortgage payments are outpacing rents barely. But that's taking everybody into account, right? So most people that are buying homes for their own personal use. That's going to inflate that number when you're trying to compare it to a rental property. Plus, if you actually already own your rental property, your mortgage payment isn't going up that much. It's staying pretty flat. You might have increases in taxes and insurance. So your payment's set for the most part. That 16 or 11 to 16% clip in your rents has got to be exciting. That's a great way to maximize your cash flow. Next.
Now, looking into Texas specifically, so no longer looking at just nationally, we're talking just about Texas, there's a lack of inventory, right? And the lack of inventory is Texas real estate's greatest challenge. Texas months of inventory increased slightly to 1.5 months. Now, this is because sales activities and new listings decreased. The average months of inventory for what's considered a balanced market is 6 months. So housing sales are down almost 1%. And this is just confirming the robust demand and that the year-to-date decrease in sales was due to restricted inventory. So the Texas days on market fell to an all-time low of 28 days. And the median home price rose for the 8th consecutive month, which 16.8% year over year. And now we're at a record-breaking $305,000 as of August for the median home price. Now the next bullet point kind of recaps what that last bullet point said, but the median home price, Houston rose 15.5% year over year. Dallas comparatively was 18.4, Fort Worth 21%, which is what Jeff was getting into. Austin almost at 35%, and San Antonio at 16.1. And this all represents the year over year home price increases.
Yeah, so this, in my opinion, the very first bullet point, and this all comes from Texas A&M. They do a really good job of putting out a lot of data. The first bullet point is kind of what I was talking about on the first slide, where there aren't enough houses relative to demand. It's just plain and simple. Now, the encouraging thing for Texas is that Texas government and regulations are very business friendly. So if there is a way to build, it will happen. And as far as the economy goes, it's very diverse. People are moving here. We got large population growth. I think things are looking really good for the state. Even if you look at our affordability, it's still very affordable relative to a lot of parts of the country. But we're just in this situation right now where there are not enough homes and too many buyers, and that's why you're seeing these massive increases in prices. The volume number, like the number of units sold, is flat, right? It's not really a big deal. It's just the prices. You're going to see the prices, in my opinion, still rise until some of those new builds start hitting the ground, and we're kind of in a little more normal state of balance. Next. So this, I showed the one on the left, I thought was pretty interesting. Basically, it's just mortgage applications. And as you can see, look at that spike between 2019 and 2020. I mean, literally, everybody and their brother tried to refinance in those times. Now, if you look at what I thought was interesting, though, is the purchase applications were flat, right? With all this going on, the purchase applications have made pretty steady. Now, this maybe that 300% kind of skews this graph to where you look at it. Well, in 2021 they were up 25%. That's a pretty reasonable number. So maybe if you look at it relative to refis, it kind of tampers down what the reality is, which is 25% is a big number, but it's kind of floating back and forth. But a lot of folks refinanced to lower their payments over the last year. But the increase in values, even if you did refinance maybe a couple of years ago, there's a decent chance you have equity to do it again. The chart on the right, I thought was pretty interesting. It's basically the spread between what somebody's going to pay for a new home versus an existing home. And if you can look all the way through 2011, there was a pretty consistent gap. Anywhere between 50 to almost $70,000 or $80,000, like a significant gap between an existing home and a new home. As you can see, right around the time that coronavirus hit, we started hitting these shortages. That existing home median price just skyrocketed. Like it almost narrowed the entire gap in a year's time. So it just leads further credence to the fact there's just not enough homes to go around right now. Too many people want to buy homes, and that's why you're seeing that massive price pressure. As a builder, AG, what are your thoughts on that? Like, since you're building new homes, are you guys having a hard time building and getting supplies, or how's it going there?
Yeah, but I have quite a few talking points on that. My first talking point is, when you get a chance, I'd like us to compare the numbers that you're presenting from about 10 years ago. I just sent you a slide at your convenience. We can bring that up and we can talk about that. But let me get into the conversation by telling you what's happening on the construction side. So essentially, construction in my space, which is the $350 per square foot and up market sale side, you either do spec homes or you do custom homes. We stopped doing spec homes essentially last year. In fact, I completely withdrew from the market as a buyer around June and July of last year. And a big part of that, because we anticipated these crazy fluctuations in supply and essentially the supply chain, in the entire supply chain as of last year. And if you're doing spec homes, predicting these supply chains is absolutely impossible. Whereas you can mitigate this on the custom side because the cost gets straight passed down to the homeowner. That's a short answer to your question. I'm not doing specs anymore. I stopped doing specs.
Okay. Did you send the Did you email this chart you're talking about?
Yeah, I emailed it to Destiny. I don't know
Okay.
if you received you, but I'll just give you, you don't have to bring up the numbers. I'll just give you a very quick synopsis. So think of it this way, the numbers that you guys presented, put in perspective. Can we go back to the slide where you had the 2021 numbers?
This?
No, the 20,000 from A&M.
Oh, okay. Back one more, I think.
But what you
This one?
essentially notice is 2011, yep, 2011, check this out, 2011, I have this written out, 2011, the average price of a single family home was 213,000. This is 10 years ago. By the way, how many homes did we sell? Can you bring that number up? The number of homes that was sold, I have that number right here. Average number of homes being sold per month, I believe, was around 5,000 and change.
Are you talking about in Houston?
Yeah.
In Houston, I can tell you the number of single family or total. There it is. 9,000 or 11,000, depending on what you're choosing.
Okay, check this out. In 2010, 10 years ago, the average number of homes being sold per month was about 5,000. So we are selling double the homes per month today we were selling 10 years ago. But here's a kicker, and this blew my mind last year when I started seeing this trend. The average volume of transactions, the total volume of transactions that we were doing in 2000 that we did this month is almost $4 billion. Am I right? Yep,
it was
$4 billion bucks. 2011, this number, my friend, was 1 billion. So think about this: is we are selling twice the number of homes for 4 times the price.
Yeah.
Given the fact, twice the number of homes for 4 times the fact, alongside the fact that there is no inventory. Like logically you would say, well, hold a second. If I'm selling 4 times the number of homes that I was, then evidently people must be building homes. There must be new supply of product coming in the market. Now, granted, the inventory is low. It's 1.8, right? Compared to about almost 9 months of inventory in 2011. Give me 1 second. I need to charge my laptop before we go out. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm running out of juice. Sorry.
No worries. You gotta power that nice microphone you got there.
It's like I'm the builder on this house and I don't know where the outlets are. Well, where's the outlet?
Come on, AJ.
Anywho, but twice the number of homes for 4 times the price without any new supply coming in. Think about that. So where are all these homes coming from? Where are we suddenly getting these 4 times the number of homes? It's the same homes being sold again and again and again.
Yeah.
It's a resale that's contributing to this crazy hike in prices.
So
And
why do you
that's the
think that is?
reason.
Why do you think the same houses are being just sold over and over again? Are we more?
Because people are getting crazy prices. I could go to West University and the lot that I was buying 4 years ago for 400,000, 450,000, I'm paying for the same lot. It's 6,000 square foot lot. I'm paying $1 million in cash, by the way. Otherwise, I don't get the deal.
Yeah.
That's why people are selling, because they're getting these crazy prices. And that's the reason we, on the buy side, we completely like buying single family homes. I know some of you guys will listen to this and will shudder. If the play is to create short-term equity or short-term cash, that's why we completely withdrew from the market on the buy side. The only thing that we are buying right now is land. The only thing that we are buying right now, that we're investing right now, is in creating inventory. That's the reason that the play in 2019 of doing these small apartment complexes is going so well. We're coming in buying these 40, basically right below an acre, so we don't get tagged in we don't get stuck in the flood mitigation and the water mitigation game. So buying these lots right below a 1 acre and doing 50 units or below apartment complexes on these. That's why, and these are all in the affordable housing, in the affordable rent range, by the way. The affordable housing rent range, as published by the Houston Housing Authority, is about $1,800. That's what they qualify as an affordable housing rent range, the top tier. And we are renting these, or we are building these apartments in markets where we can rent these apartments for $1,400 or lower, and they're flying off the shelf like hotcakes. So that's the first perspective. That's what we're doing on the construction space. The second thing that, if you want me to get into, I will, unless you have more slides, which is many times we don't get into, is the affordability index. So I'd love to spend a couple of minutes talking about that, and what's happening in the Austin space, in my opinion. But if you have more slides, if you want to jump more into it, please just give me the cue and we can talk more about that.
We have an Austin slide and an affordability index slide, so that is appropriate. So we can go through these, and then when we get to that, we can jump on it.
Awesome, let's do that.
Awesome. So some huge news that came out from Fannie Mae are more updates every time. There's been new information that's came out for what it seems. But for those of you who didn't know, the federal limit on single-family mortgage loans secured by second homes or investment properties were limited back in March from 17% to 7%. So this was put in place saying that as mortgage lenders, only in March, only 7% of our volume could account for real estate investment loans, which means that 93% had to make up, not investment loans. So, due to this, the costs and the interest rates rose for lenders, primarily focusing on investment loans, like for people like us who primarily deal in the investment space. And it was reduced again in June to 3%, but as of September 21st, they were reversed, and now we are back up to 17%, which is why those of you who were in the game trying to lock loans, previously a few months ago, there was no par rate. So you were having to pay, there was a cost involved to lock, and now you can lock. Interest rates are slightly down from just a little bit ago, but the big thing is that there's not a fee involved to lock anymore, so you can lock in at that par rate. Now with this update, there was also an announcement that conforming loan limits in Texas rose from 548 to 625. So for those of you who were getting a $600,000 loan amount a year ago, y'all had to look into jumbo loan products, and now you can get into the lower interest rate conventional loans up to 625,000.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this, in my opinion, was when this happened, it threw a little mini panic into a lot of people, because most conventional lenders, they primarily do more owner occupied than non-owner occupied. So for investors, getting squeezed all the way down to 3 or 7%, I mean, a lot of lenders were basically full stop on anything that wasn't owner occupied. Now which was scary. But the good news is that they've done portfolio analysis recently, and believe it or not, investor loans, so conventional loans paid on non-owner occupied rental properties, perform, meaning pay their bills, at a higher rate than owner occupied, that was definitely not the case back in the financial crisis days. But now investment loans are paying at a higher clip. So what happened, and what I think would happen again if something like this happened, was that private money, Wall Street money, hedge funds saw the value in the loans and stepped in and opened up wallets. And so as long as the conventional, because it's government subsidized, is almost always going to be cheaper than Wall Street money, as long as the performance is there, I think will be safe, and having that as kind of as a backup if something were to go crazy again, Wall Street money would step in, because those are good loans. Investors pay the bills, those are quality loans, and I think they would fill that gap.
And Jeff, that's a great point. simply because so many times we hear this, this age-old wisdom of these people who've been in the real estate space for years and years and years. When is the correction coming? When is the correction coming? Because they're used to the 10-year cyclical cycle. Every 10 years, the real estate market correcting itself. Now, the interesting point is, I've said this before on many forums, this is never the case in any other developed nation other than United States, where every 10 years there would be a correction coming. It never really happened anywhere. And that's exactly because of what you just said, because other than the federal government, there were many other private institutions that would carry the burden of the mortgage or the lending gap in times when institutional money was not available. And that's for the first time in this decade that has happened, where there's tremendous amount of private money in the space that is keeping up all this lack of, or if there's ever a contraction on the federal money for mortgages. So yeah, so there's no correction coming, my friends.
All right, next slide.
And that's also why you see right now those non-conventional loans, the rates are right where conventional interest rates are. So just another reason to get into that, the blanket loan product, like take advantage of it while you can. Interest rates can't get too much closer to zero than what they currently are. So
Speak of the devil. So we always keep this as perspective. People always have short term. It's natural. Human nature is to think short term. This is a chart that shows. It's not at the bottom, but I believe this chart starts somewhere in the 70s. I can't see it. I apologize. But it just shows historically where they were rated. Oh, there we go. 1971. So that spike is 1980 all the way up to 18%, and then it's just kind of been a steady decline all the way down to today. It's in the low threes. So like Austin just said, money it can't get much lower to zero, and with inflation the way it is, eventually they're gonna start tapering. It's gonna go up. So while they may not be at the lowest it's ever been, it's pretty dang low.
So now looking into the Houston market specifically, single family home sales have increased for the second consecutive month, rising 1.5% year over year, which is 140 more units than where we were last year in September. Year over year, the days of market fell from 51 to 25. So the days on market are just much lower. Obviously, inventory is lower, so people are really trying to get these houses under contract and to buy these houses. Now, total property sales increased 1.6%, and it just shows 11,285 units have been sold. Now, the single-family home months of inventory currently in Houston is 1.8 months of supply, which is down from 2.4 months year over year, and the national average is at 2.6. So almost half of that,
AG, almost a full month behind the national average. That's unheard of for Houston.
And that's why I'm out of the market. On the buy side, this is not a good market to be buying. This is a market to be supplying, and we're rolling up our sleeves and supplying like crazy. But now think about this: the active listings of 27,000, exactly based on the number of sales. 10 years ago, this number was about 50,000.
50. Wow. Wow. Jeez,
No bidding.
that was a rough time.
We have not built that.
10 years ago was a rough time.
You can drive around Houston suburbia. You don't see these large Pulte or KB homes. There's no like 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 home subdivision coming up.
No.
There's nothing.
If AG, kind of what you were talking about earlier, if you look down at the bottom of that chart, single family home rentals, the volume is down 8%, but the average rents are up 9%. And then we chart every month what the average single family rents are. A year ago, they were $1,768, and today they're $2,150. So it's just a good time to have a rental property.
It is a good time to have a rental property.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say that I hear people all the time. They say that I'm waiting for the market to cool down, right? And these, in my opinion, these are excuses. Now the mortgage rates have slowly risen, right? So mortgage rates have slowly risen, but they're still historically low. So that's why I'm personally trying to buy houses while the rates are low, because even though the prices are higher, the cash flow that I see now is greater than what it was in previous years, just due to how low the rates currently are.
Yeah. So I agree. So this is, I always find this interesting. This is the Houston segments. Basically percentage of activity broken out by, Destiny's here. That means we're almost out of time. By cohort, price cohort, right? And if you look at those bottom three, from 0 to 250, you think with all this activity, those would be up. That is not the case, because there just aren't any homes at those levels. Everything is being shifted down on this chart. You just can't find homes at that price. I mean, you look and you're gonna see for yourself. It's just more and more difficult to find houses on those lower cohort prices.
Now, here's another data point to ponder over. On an average, we are closing about 7,000, between 5,000 and 7,000 homes this year, single family homes per year, as per the MLS. And this year was
9,000 last month. I don't know what the average is, but 9,000 units last month.
Yeah, so I thought this month was like 5,000 and change. Whatever. Yeah. Okay, 9,226. Okay. Now think about this. Do you know the average number of warranty deeds filed in Harris County alone in the month of September of 2021? Any wild guesses?
I feel like there's a trick coming here. What's it?
40,000.
40,000.
40,000.
So what does that tell you?
40,000 warranty deeds were filed, and yes, a good number of them are, estate transfers, husbands transferring wives, all that good stuff. But there is still a huge amount of off-market transactioneering that happens outside the world of MLS.
Wow. So even if 10,000 of those are nonsense,
exactly,
you're talking 30,000 as opposed to like 11 total. So you're saying, so what you're saying is that the off-market market is probably greater than the hard market.
110%. There's no doubt about it.
By a wide market.
Especially in these margins below 100,000, 150,000.
That makes sense. Yep.
I mean, I've sold, let's say, I've been selling aggressively my single family portfolio via seller financing. I've never done a single family, listing on the MLS ever. And there are people that do this in the thousands. So absolutely. So
Destiny, you're here. So that means we're running out of time. We have a couple of slides. We can kind of blow through pretty fast. It's a couple, San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, same, different month, same tune, right? So we'll go through these real quick, and then AG will give you the chance to talk about the affordability index that we had at the end there.
Definitely. So I'll go through this slide quick. Just as a heads up, we are hiring in San Antonio, Houston, and Dallas. If you are interested in joining our team, definitely reach out to us after the webinar, and we can definitely set something up. Now in San Antonio, sales a year ago, there's been no increase. So it's actually the same number of sales so far this year. Average price is up 15% year over year, which is roughly $45,000. Now the median price increase is right at 15% as well. The days on market are almost 50% lower this year than it was last year. Now, if you're looking down at the rental market, the average monthly cost to rent is $1,714 a month. When a year ago, it was $1,544. So there's an 11% increase there. Now let's also keep in mind, Houston's average is $2,153. So it's about $440 more in San Antonio. Now, the average time it takes to rent your home out now is also 30 days. It's 30 days according to this graph, and it's down from 39 days a year ago.
Here is one more perspective on that. Many times these numbers are misleading because you don't know what the indexed value is, meaning when you adjust the increase based on the average increase in insurance costs and your taxes, this number is skewed. So the real number The real number for Houston was actually very, very impressive, which is about 14%. After adjusting for average taxes, tax increase and insurance increase, we still can today rent our homes for 14% more, which is phenomenal because on an average, this number is typically like 4%, 5%.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Next. All right, so this is Dallas, North Texas. Like I said, kind of the same old, up 17% year over year on the median price, 310. Which I thought was interesting is Houston's 300, Dallas is 310. So on this North Texas market, it's pretty close, right? I think Dallas proper is a lot more expensive, but if you look at the North Texas area, it is a little more akin to Houston. The only thing in days on market, 28 days, months of inventory, 1.6. This is the only one that does days to close. So it factors in mortgages, I guess. So 28 days to market, 40 days to close a mortgage. So you're looking at 68 days all in. Next.
Awesome. So now here in Austin, Austin is continuing to boom with a median sales price of $450,000, which is up 28% from last year. 28. Closed sales are actually down 5%. I believe this to be an inventory issue. Part of the reason why the prices have been, continually going up as well. Average days on market is 17 days, which is 22 days shorter than last year. New listings are up 15% from last year. So much building is going on. The supply is higher, but it is still having an issue keeping up with demand. Now the total sales volume is $2.07 billion, which is an 18% increase.
Still half of Houston, baby.
There you go.
We're rocking and rolling here. Austin, thanks for doing Austin.
There you go.
I think you just came on just to do that joke. Let's
She was ready.
next slide. All right, so this is the one that we were talking about, AG, you have of Florida. Basically, this affordability index, it's a measure of household income versus an estimated mortgage payment. So that percentage of income chart, the numbers on the far right, the 82, 81, that basically means how much of your paycheck would go towards your mortgage payment if you live in that city. So New York, 82% based on the average income. What's that?
What is the actual affordability score? Do you have that on the slide by any chance?
No, I don't have that. I don't have the score. They just rank basically income versus mortgage, average mortgage payment or median mortgage payment. I thought it was interesting. As you can see, all of the major big cities, New York, Miami, LA. I think Miami and LA keep bouncing back between second and third. But you get down to Austin, Dallas, Houston. Austin real estate is obviously more expensive, but if you look at the percentage as far as Austin and Dallas, it's almost the same because the incomes are significantly higher in Austin, almost 20 grand a year. But if you look down at the bottom of that chart, still plenty of tertiary markets like El Paso, Lubbock, Corpus Christi, where you can find some really, I'm guessing some massive cash flows if you can find some deals out there. But AG, go ahead and what did you want to say
exactly
about
my point, that many times we look at the what's happening in Austin. I'm saying, oh my gosh, I'd never touch a market like Austin. But right there is the answer, is that there are more people in Austin that can still afford to buy those properties and those homes compared to Houston and Dallas. So don't discount the Austin market as a buy right now. It is said from a buying standpoint, as long as the affordability score, index score, is between 120 and 130, there's a great buy market. Because again, 20 to 30% of disposable income is additionally available after making your mortgage payment. So that's a great market. Austin, I believe, is 144 was the score. I don't have the score in front of me, but Austin is on the 144 score compared to Houston, which was 106, and Dallas, I have this right here, is 96. So Dallas is not a market that you want to be in. Most people living in Dallas, but not most. A lot of people living in Dallas can't afford their homes. So do you know who was on the bottom of that chain? Bottom of that, I don't even know how to pronounce the city. Youngstown, Ohio, on the border of Ohio and Pennsylvania.
Youngstown, perfect.
Score number 1.
I always look at, it looks like, I don't remember, I don't want to be a liar, but for as long as I can remember, Detroit was always dead last.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, it's
Everybody
down
can
there.
afford a home.
It's pretty cheap. It's pretty cheap. Average home is 80 grand according to this. So
That's the top of the list, man.
all right, Destiny, take it
All
away.
right.
Any questions or?
Yeah, hey everybody, thanks so much for hanging on. We do have some time for questions if you want to hang back. I have a few questions lined up, but if you have any for our panelists today, make sure you write them in the question box and we'll go ahead and ask those live. I'm going to go in order down the list here. So one of our very first questions was, do you think the price upsurge increase will continue for Fort Worth? Jeff, do you want to take that one?
I don't really have any Fort Worth specific opinions. I don't think it's going to be any different than any place else. You know, they're going to have the same problems that everyone said, the lack of inventory. So until the inventory grows, then I think you're going to see price pressure until it stops.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you know, one way of I didn't catch the name of the gentleman who asked the question, but one way of looking at that is looking at the population change from the last index. I don't know what the number is for DFW. For Houston, surprisingly, our population went up by 10%, which is there are 200,000 people more that moved into Houston. And if you balance that, like these guys were saying, with the lack of inventory, it's just a crazy. And by the way, in the last 1 year. So this is just a ridiculously phenomenal place to be.
200,000 in the last year?
That doesn't sound right. Give me 1 second. No, sorry. Last 10 years.
Okay. Like, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Most of them are right here, man, now.
Thank you. Okay, so AG, it looks like we have a lot of questions for you. At least two just came in. So this question, from Rick, what is AG's thoughts on the supply chain issues with construction going forward? When will it start to come back to normal?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when will it come back to normal. I will tell you that the biggest headache for a lot of builders was lumber, which is no longer an issue. Lumber prices are almost back to, well, I shouldn't say they're almost back to normal, but they're about 20% higher than they used to be traditionally, compared to 177%, almost 200% higher that they went to in summer of this year. So lumber was a headache, but other things is not really that big a problem. Understand this, is that the nature of your construction or the product that you're building determines a lot of these things. So this question will be answered very differently by somebody who is doing a spec home in the affordable housing range. If you're building a $250,000 house to sell, the way that you'll answer this question will be very different than the way that I'll answer my question. The cost of a front door is almost 45,000 bucks. So the sourcing, the craftsmanship, the installation of that is what people typically spend on their entire lumber package. So that question is very, very differently answered by what you're building. But it is not a source of concern for us, because people who buy a $5 million, $6 million home, they don't mind paying the additional cost of these products and services. And everything is available if you're willing to pay more. For example, our typical Italian tile that typically would come in 2 or 3 weeks. Now the supply chain delay is 14 weeks. But if I'm willing to pay more freight charges, I can get them in 2 weeks. So
There you go.
Wow, that's a big thing.
Thanks, AG. And you know what? The other question was actually asking if you were going to discuss the construction and labor supply issues as well. So we'll go ahead and move to the next question. This one is from Rick. Based on your expertise, when do you think the Fed will start increasing the interest rate? I keep hearing June 2022 to 2023. What is your best educated guess? Which is better than ours? Thank you. That's funny, Rick. So, Jeff, do you want to take that one, or Austin?
I mean, June 2022 sounds reasonable. I think if you're just, I don't want to get political or anything like that. So like, if you're just looking at the data, inflation is going through the roof, and that is one of the ways That is one of the policies that we have to stop it or to slow it down, is to raise interest rates. So I think they should go up pretty quick, in my opinion. I think it's probably the right move to raise interest rates. You have free money just floating around. There's almost too much free money right now. It's not good for the economy. So hopefully they will go up, to be honest, in the next 6 months or so, but I don't, who knows what will happen. I think they should go up, yes.
I guess
By the way,
to
interest rates going up is not necessarily a bad thing for real estate investors. And we can talk about that. We can have a 1-hour discussion just on that, but that's not a bad thing for us, by the way.
Awesome. All right. I hope that answered your question. Let's see. AG, do you have any underlying mortgages on the homes you own or finance? Wrap mortgages. Scotty.
Like, do I own any?
Do you have any underlining mortgages on the homes that you own or financed? Wrap mortgages. That's the question.
Yeah. It's basically wrap mortgages. So for those of you who did not understand the question, I'm assuming what he's asking is, have I bought a home with an existing mortgage, let's say with a subject to, and then have I wrapped it and sold it? I'm assuming that's what he's asking. And the answer is yes, all the time. Those are the best.
Awesome. All right. We have time for just another question or two. I will ask the next one. If anybody else has one, pop it in there. I've answered quite a few that I can, and I saw a reoccurring. Are we going to get a recording of this presentation? Yes. So you guys will have that email to you tomorrow. And then, yes, we are still doing the giveaway. I'll do that here in just a second. And the last question I have on here is now still a good time to find off-market deals, or is the market too competitive?
But if you want, I can take that. I was going to say, yes, absolutely. It's a great time to check off-market deals all the time. However, if you're still drinking the Kool-Aid, that you'll be looking for 70% ARV minus rehab type deals, yeah, forget about that. Right now, there are great. Right now, the definition of off-market is getting to somebody before the realtor gets to them. If I can access inventory that is not available on the market, to me, that is off market, because at this point, I really don't care about buying it at a super discount because there's so much upside. And as long as that's there, it's great. Right now, all the land that we are buying almost is at 100 or 110% ARV of the land value. And because the reason is we can create some crazy upside on that. So if I'm looking to buy these at a crazy discount, yeah, don't waste your time.
I forgot to ask you, AG. I know last time I talked to you, you were talking. How's the CRM? Good.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's a great segue. So I want to announce this for the very first time. We have not announced this, not even on the Real Acquisitions podium yet. December 1, we are opening up our, not just the CRM, which was opened up, let's see, July of this year.
Yeah.
We're now opening up on December 1 a nationwide lead generation portal. So you can now log into our services and access all kinds of distressed leads nationwide, not just in the Texas market. And combine that with our CRM tools and the mobile app that we have for driving around for dollars and all that stuff, which by the way is a free app. We are probably the only data provider today in the United States that has a full-fledged real estate CRM for investors, which is free, a full-fledged house driving for dollars app, which is free, and the lead generation module, which is very affordable. So looking forward to having you guys on our midst. Check out, go to realacquisitions.com or shoot us an email at Diana or office@realacquisitions.com, and we'll get you more questions answered.
Yeah, these guys have more data than you know what to do with. And I thought it was free last time we talked, but I didn't want to put it out there if it wasn't free. So I let you say that. Like a free CRM is outstanding.
It's killer.
It is.
Awesome. And AG, I'll include Diana in your info email when we send the presentation out to everybody who's joined and then those that weren't able to make it. So you guys will have his contact information in one easy spot, as well as his website right here. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. It was absolutely wonderful. We have one last agenda item. We have our giveaway. And our winner today is Randy Rhodes. Congratulations. You just won half off your next hard money processing fee with Catalyst Funding. Woo! Spirit fingers. We will send you an email letting you know all the information and any details connecting you with a fully licensed loan officer as well. So AG, thank you again so much for joining. We love to hear from you, and you are so fun to listen to.
Well, thank you so much. Austin, Destiny, Jeff, thanks so much, guys.
Thanks,
Definitely
AG.
appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Everyone have a good day.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Go Stros.
Woo.